What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. Today we got to break down the most talked about trial in hip hop, the Hernandez Govan trial involving Young Dolph. This wasn't just a trial. This was 3 years of pain, 3 years of speculation, 3 years of Dolph's name being dragged in court every single time. And finally, after 4 days in court, the jury said not guilty. But if you think that clears his name, think again.
Today's verdict was a surprise to many. WRG's Harrison Klopp has reaction to the news and explains what could come next.
November 17th, 2021 at Makita's Homemade Cookies on Airways Boulevard. This is where the bloodshed began, as Memphis rapper Young Dolph was shot 22 times. And today, the man who was accused of setting up the hit, Hernandez Govan, walked out a free man. Maurice Hill is the owner of Makita's.
Oh, man, that guy was great. Yeah, he was great. When he first started coming, he was kind of arrogant. He'd come in and say, "What's hot?" And then after asking what's hot, he would start telling us to bake him some cookies, and he'll wait on them, and we'll bake him some. But he was a giver. He was like a breath of fresh air for the city,
When asked if justice was served after the non-guilty verdict, Hill answered quickly.
No, not today with the verdict. No, sir. No, not with the verdict today. I don't think justice was served.
Laura Kellums, who drove from St. Louis to pay her respects to Dolph, felt the same way.
I mean, even if you didn't pull the trigger, you're still the mastermind behind it. So you still should have did some time.
But was he the mastermind? After 3 days of testimony, jurors clearly had their doubts. And now, with Govan being set free, the question for many is what's next? WRIG has reported on 3 deaths that are possibly related to Dolph's murder, including Destiny Govan, Hernandez Govan's daughter, who was killed in a Houston shooting in September of 2022. Her death came 2 months before her father was indicted in the Young Dolph case. In June of 2023, Joshua Taylor, a person of interest in Dolph's murder, was shot and killed in Orange Mound. And in January of 2024, Anthony Big Jook Mims, the brother of rapper Yo Gotti and the man who allegedly ordered the hit on Young Dolph, was shot and killed at a nightclub in Hickory Hill. After the verdict, we drove by Privé, the Hickory Hill restaurant owned by Memphis rapper Yo Gotti, Big Jook's little brother, who notoriously was feuding with Dolph, only to find the establishment largely empty outside. In the South Memphis neighborhood where Dolph grew up, we met a man who was best friends with the rapper's father. The man had been following Govan's case closely and told us anonymously he wouldn't be surprised to see a violent retaliation.
I think it's pretty likely. I think when he suggested that he's going to leave town immediately, kind of suggested that there may be some type of retaliation against him.
Lemoyne Olin professor Reverend Dr. Earl Fisher, who is close with Young Dolph's family, says he wouldn't be surprised, but hopes people can let it go, come together, and heal.
I'm pretty sure I'll be texting with Dolph's child's mother, Mia, and I'll be asking her to continue to be steadfast and prayerful.
In South Memphis, Harrison Klopp for your news leader, WREG News Channel 3.
The prosecution came out strong. They told the jury that Hernandez Govan was the mastermind, the man who put Justin Johnson and Cornelia Smith together to execute Young Dolph. They argued that this wasn't random. They said this was a planned hit. A hit tied to street politics, music beefs, and connections back to Yo Gotti's camp. The defense kept it simple. They said this case is built on rumors and witnesses who can't keep their story straight. The state called 8 witnesses to try to connect the dots, but every single one of them came with holes. The first testimony that hit hard was from Dolph's sister. She spoke about who he was, a father, a son, a leader in Memphis, a man handing out turkeys to families on the very day he died. She was there to humanize her brother. She wanted the jury to feel that loss and to understand that he wasn't just a rapper. He was a man with family, but emotion alone doesn't win cases. The defense let her talk, and they didn't need to cross-examine too heavily because this was about heart, not fact. Next up was Dolph's head of security. He testified about the day, about how Dolph was at Makita's cookie shop, his favorite spot, just doing something normal. He tried to give context to how the ambush went down. But once again, nothing he said put Govan at the scene or tied him to the conspiracy. The defense knew it. They let that roll. Next up was Cornelia Smith. Now, this is where it got messy. He pointed the finger directly at Govan. He said Govan was the one who hired him and Justin Johnson, the one who told him when Dolph would be back in town. But here's the problem. The man has told so many different stories. He went from blaming Govan to throwing out some miscellaneous name like this was a cartoon plot. His girlfriend even told the police in one tape, Quick set this up, but in the same tape, she also said Big Jook ordered the hit. The defense jumped on that. They said if even the key witness and his girl can't keep their story straight, How can you convict a man for murder? Now, Smith's girlfriend, when she testified, the contradictions got even deeper. 1 minute she's saying Govan, 1 minute she's saying Big Jook, 1 minute she's talking about money. The defense showed the jury that her testimony was all over the place. And once the jury sees you lying or mixed up on one thing, it makes everything you say hard to believe. Then they brought the digital investigators from MPD. They tried to lay out the cell phone records. These records show Cornelia Smith and Justin Johnson communicating with Govan after the murder. The prosecution said this is the link, this is the proof that he was involved. But the defense said, hold up, Smith bought drugs from Govan all the time. Them talking on the phone ain't nothing new. So was it about a hit or was it business as usual? Jury was left with doubt. The white Mercedes-Benz was a huge part of this case. It was the getaway car used in the murder. And where did they find it? Abandoned across the street from Govan's house on Bradley Street. The prosecution said this is too much of a coincidence. The defense said other people live on that street too. It doesn't mean anything. The jury agreed with the defense. A car on the same street isn't enough to convict the man of murder. Smith said he wiped down the Mercedes-Benz with bleach, but a police lieutenant testified that no evidence of bleach was ever found. Smith said he bought a car cover at AutoZone to hide the car, but there's no video, no receipt, nothing to back it up. The defense said this is a story without proof, and the jury bought that. The prosecution begged the jury to see Govan as the connecting piece. They said he put the shooters together, he knew about the money, and he knew about Dolph's whereabouts. The defense said this whole case is a mess. You can't convict the man because people in the streets say his name. Manny Aurora, the defense lawyer, lit the courtroom up. He called the Shelby County DA's office an embarrassment. He said the whole world is watching Memphis, and this is the best they have. The state responded, are you kidding me? He just called the whole city dumb. But it was too late. The damage was done. After 3 days of testimony, the jury deliberated Wednesday night for 96 minutes. They paused, went home, slept on it, and came back Thursday. 2 hours and 45 minutes later, the verdict was in. Not guilty on all charges. Look, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I think Big Jook being dead is the main reason Govan walked today. Without Jook, there's no way to break down his conversations with Justin Johnson. Without Jook, there's no way to prove who ordered the hit. And when you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, the jury has no choice but to let him go. That's the law. That's the system. But be clear, not guilty doesn't make him innocent. For 3 years, his name has been tied to this murder. And to Dolph fans, that stain will never wash away. He may walk free, but he's gonna be looking over his shoulder the rest of his life. The streets don't forget, and Memphis don't forgive. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.